So this whole redistricting fight is starting to get very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats, they have shot themselves in the foot. Yeah, I think that's what really happened with this whole Virginia redistricting battle, because now they basically gave Republicans the ammo necessary for them to move forward in southern states, where now they're going to redistrict in order to get rid of these racially drawn congressional lines. And we're going to get into that. Following the Supreme Court ruling of how Section 2 of the voting rights can be used. So the question now is, what does this all mean? One thing it means, in my opinion, is no more guarantees on what they're calling black representation, which is really just Democrats and liberal media saying, hey, in these places, this is going to be a win for a House seat. And Democrats, they don't want to lose that. And so we got a lot to break down, ladies and gentlemen. But if you do enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up. Best way you can let me know, and subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss. And so let's start with this.
There's a battle brewing in Louisiana over primary elections. Republican Governor Jeff Landry filed an emergency executive order suspending the primaries just days after the Supreme Court of the United States struck down Louisiana's second majority black congressional district in a decision that could boost Republicans' balance of power in Congress. Democrats in the state filed several lawsuits in response, saying the effort to pause elections is unconstitutional. Louisiana's Attorney General defended the governor's actions, saying no voting should be held before a new map can be drawn. Other southern states like Alabama and Tennessee are joining that rush to redraw maps after the Supreme Court ruling. The Republican governors of Alabama and Tennessee announcing special sessions for next week. Alabama facing hurdles with this, where they can only actually act if the Supreme Court clears the way. But in the meantime, Tennessee's primary isn't until August, giving lawmakers there plenty of time to redraw that map. And weeks after Virginia voters passed a referendum to redraw the state's map, the State Board of Elections was unable to certify those results as legal challenges are playing out in the state's Supreme Court. The referendum approved a new congressional map favoring Democrats 10-1, with 2 Republican-led lawsuits challenging the legality of it. Because of the map changes and extra time needed, House election primaries will now be in August, with early voting starting June 18th.
Yeah, and so for years, Democrats have been able to frame these racially drawn districts as representation. But politically, what does that usually mean? It means a safe Democrat seat. They can dress it up however they want, but the math is obvious. If black voters are packed into certain districts, and black voters overwhelmingly, we know it, black voters overwhelmingly are going to vote Democrat. The Democrats aren't talking about representation like they want you to believe. They're talking about protecting their political power. And so now Republicans are looking at these southern maps and saying, why are we drawing districts in a way that basically hands Democrats seats? That's the part Democrats do not want to say out loud, because in a lot of blue states, especially in parts of the Northeast, Republicans have been basically erased from congressional representation. But when Republicans start playing the same hardball in the South, suddenly everybody is now all of a sudden it's like, oh, democracy. I mean, I find that a bit hypocritical if you ask me, but let's get into this clip, CNN, and hear their take on it. Take a listen.
This is a new era, John, for this country. And I'm not sure people are fully understanding where this puts us.
I agree.
I think that, the reality is that people will start to see states, both red and blue,
That's right,
start to look dramatically different from the way that they looked like before. And that if you are a person of color in the South, they may eradicate virtually all political representation for you in some of those states. That's an extraordinary thing.
correct. And it's also going to hurt because of the tit for tat element of it, because of the pushback. It's going to hurt conservative voters in majority blue states because they're going to have their districts chopped up. They're going to have their representative, their citizens are not going to be able to have conservative representation because of the battle. These laws exist. The Voting Rights Act exists.
Let me stop right there, because I find it funny, quite entertaining to listen to, that liberals are suddenly concerned about Republican representation. Did we not just watch what happened in Virginia? Who are we kidding here, right? They tried to take away almost every Republican seat except one. Oh, thank you. So kind of you. 10-1 map. Ended up redrawing districts that stretch from DC suburbs into rural parts of Virginia. But now, suddenly, there's this worry about Republican representation. Oh, really? I find that very hard to believe that's a big concern here. But let's continue.
Because people marched and protested and fought and bled and died for these rights. And this week, these 6 aristocrats took a look at that and said, okay, but it's too much. Now, we can't have any kind of race consciousness when it comes to things like education, getting into school. We can't have race consciousness when it comes to politics or to voting. But when it comes to, cops stopping someone, when it comes to immigration policy, we can be as race conscious as we want. They only say colorblind when it's a policy that helps non-white people. They never pull that for a policy that hurts non-white people. And these justices, what they've done now is unleash it. We're seeing all the red states are now trying to speed redistrict. And what it really is racist Photoshop. They're putting it all through an Instagram filter to make everything whiter. And you're going to see the blue states come back in kind saying, then we're going to redistrict like Virginia did, like California did. There's a lot of conservative brothers and sisters in blue states that are going to lose their representation because of this greediness.
I have already seen some liberals suggesting that there could be maybe as many as 13 seats that could be redrawn in Democrats' favor in blue states, just as a result of what this Pandora's box that has been opened up. President Trump is asking states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama. We know Florida has already started this past week to do it. So we're just in, we're just spiraling at this point.
I know the 3 justices who dissented in this opinion believe that the sky is falling. The 6 in the majority, however, as I understand it, believe that it was a decision narrowly tailored to this district in question. And I think any honest broker, we showed it up on the screen, if you looked at that district and did not know the political leanings of it or the racial demographics of it and saw it snaking from Baton Rouge up to Shreveport, you would say gerrymandered. It is the very definition on paper of a gerrymandered district. Well,
that's the issue.
But I would take a step back because you keep using the word represented. And I think this is really, really critical and key. As many become further entrenched in identity and ideology first mindsets, we seem to believe that we are only represented when somebody has the same attributes as us, whether that be race or gender or physical attributes or ideological leanings.
Or someone who cares about your community because they live there.
No, but the goal of redistricting is to maintain communities of interest, to respect existing boundaries.
No,
yeah, that is by the law.
This is happening because Donald Trump demanded Texas rig it a year and a half ago. This is happening because Donald Trump demanded Texas rig it.
Have you looked
it's a
at
response to
California's
Trump.
map? Have you looked
Let me
at
let
the fact
Pete
that
finish
there's a
his
single
thought.
Republican in New England? Not one Republican in New England represents anyone in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Wow, the senator from Maine is going to be shocked to learn that, man.
John, because I have
Susan
been
Collins needs to be told.
I have been. She's in the Senate. I said House.
Okay. Well, also,
So you just heard that. And here's the thing. Democrats are finding out they probably should have just left good enough alone, right? They wanted to keep on going with this after Texas. Okay, California stepped up, fine, okay. But they kept going and going and going. And now they're upset because things aren't going their way. And so now what are they doing? The Democrat playbook, they're throwing out the race card, right? Because, it's easy. I say that all the time. Democrats, they know it's easy, right? It's an easy sell, the race card, right? This is going to leave black people with no representation. That's what they want you to believe. But Democrats are not worried about black representation. They're only concerned about it because they know those black districts are a shoe-in for an automatic House seat, no matter who they have on the ballot or who they serve up as a representative. That's how you end up with people like Jasmine Crockett in Texas. But what has she actually done since she's been in the House? Nothing. But get social media famous by attacking the president. Instead of figuring out ways to, work together to get things done for the people she's supposed to represent, the black people she's supposed to represent. That's why she didn't even bother trying to win her seat in the House once Texas redrew their maps, because she knew she wouldn't be able to pull that same basic, simple-minded nonsense up. Oh, I'm black. You're black. We're both black. You need somebody like me to represent you in Washington. We got to stick together, brother. We got to stick together, my sister. But I'm not going to really do nothing for you, but we look alike, so you should trust me. Democrats love to try to get away with that. And if we're being honest, they actually have been getting away with it, so I can't blame them. But now let's get into this next clip, because Democrats are losing their grip on black voters, and so it's scary times, to say the least. Let's check this out. Take a listen.
As President Trump and the Republican Party are chipping away at the long-term advantage that Democrats have had with black voters, with African Americans. You can see it right here. Look, Trump's approval among African Americans at this point in term one, he was at 12%. You know, he's been losing ground with a lot of groups. He's gaining ground with African Americans. He's up to 16% at this point. And you say, this isn't that big of a shift. But I will tell you, Republicans absolutely love this shift that's going on, because Democrats have had such a long-term advantage. The fact that he's actually gaining ground versus where he was in term number one, this has major implications for elections down the line, because Democrats, especially in a lot of these tight races, you talk about places like Georgia, right down in the South, you see this type of movement for Trump actually gaining ground. This could have major ramifications and help put Republicans over the top in a number of southern places in the midterm elections.
But do you see this as part of a bigger trend?
I see this as absolutely part of a bigger trend. Donald Trump's Republican Party is absolutely gaining ground, not just him gaining in terms of his approval rating, but look at the party ID margin, Kate, because this to me was absolutely stunning. Look at this party ID margin among African Americans. At this point in Trump term number one, Democrats had a 63-point advantage. That has absolutely fallen. Look at where it is now. A double-digit shift away. Democrats, of course, still have the advantage, but it's a 12-point shift to the Republican Party. And I look back through Gallup's records. They sent me their records. And this, in fact, lead that Democrats have is actually smaller than any lead from 2006 to 2021. So Democrats are leading. But again, we're talking about chipping away. Republicans are chipping away at this long-term advantage that Democrats have had among African Americans. We see it in terms of Trump's approval rating, and we even see it to a wider degree among the party ID margin, where all of a sudden there are a number of African Americans who are walking away from the Democratic Party, and a number of them who are walking into the Republican tent.
That is very interesting, looking at that past Gallup information.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the race for control in Congress?
Okay, so you see this right here. You see this 51-point advantage that Democrats have, significantly less than you see that 63-point advantage. And what we will note was back in 2024, right, Donald Trump put in a historically strong performance among African Americans. Democrats performed the worst in a generation. Have they gained any of that coalition back from where they fell down to in 2024? But take a look here. Okay. Choice for election among African Americans. Kamala Harris was leading amongst that group in the pre-election polling by 63 points. Are Democrats gaining back any of that ground? It's a 62-point advantage now. Republicans are holding on to the gains that they made among African Americans in 2024. Republicans are gaining among African Americans. They are chipping away at that long-term advantage. The Donald Trump-led Republican Party is making gains among African Americans that we simply put have not seen the Republican Party make in a generation.
Fascinating. Good to see you here. Thanks so much for putting it together.
Yeah, so you heard that. This is why I laugh when you have these so-called black representatives and black voices on TV also, who are supposed to be the voice of black people. If you were the voice of black people, you would be honest about the frustration many black people have with the Democrat Party. But instead, they try to throw the past around because it pulls at people's emotions. It does. And it makes them look like they have black people's best interests in mind. And they don't. But take a listen to this next clip from The View, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. Take a listen.
Alito argued that the vast social change has occurred throughout the country, and particularly in the South, indicating that racism no longer exists in this country. I can tell you, as a black woman, that my father was born in 1949. He remembers segregated schools. He remembers segregated water fountains. He remembers that he did not have full civil rights. And he told me when I turned 40 years old that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And he is still alive today, and I am still alive today, and I have been discriminated against. And now I have to tell my children that they have less civil rights than I did when I was born.
That's true.
That is disgusting, despicable, and I am devastated by this particular Supreme Court decision, even though, Whoopi, we did know this was coming.
What about, wait a second, what about Clarence Thomas? Didn't he stick up for his own group?
He did not.
He did not.
No.
And
He
by
is
the
part
way,
of the majority here.
Yeah. This has repercussions.
And so here's where I'll leave it. Democrats wanted to keep on pushing it with this redistricting fight because they thought they could control the rules, control the narrative, and control the outcome. Couldn't leave well enough alone after California. But now Republicans are looking at the maps and saying, okay, if you want to play this game, then we can play it. That's why the panic is setting in, because this was never just about representation. This is all about the power. This was about protecting safe seats. This was about making certain districts remain automatically Democrat. An easy win, no matter who they put on the ballot and no matter how little those politicians actually deliver for the people they claim to represent. And now those guarantees may be going away. And so suddenly the same people who had no problem drawing Republicans out of existence in blue states want to lecture everybody about fairness. Color me shocked, right? No. Now, if you want to talk about a ban on gerrymandering altogether, cool. Let's do that. That could be where we're headed. I do not know. But until then, this is what you get. And for black voters especially, this should be a real conversation. Are these politicians actually representing you? Or are they just using your vote as political property? Because if all they have to offer is fear, guilt, race talk, old history lessons, every election cycle, then maybe the problem is not the map. Maybe the problem is they know they haven't earned the vote. But those are my thoughts in the update. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Smash that thumbs up if you do enjoy the content. Subscribe for more. And as always, until next time.